So, who could have seen it coming that Musk has backed out or is trying to back out of his $44 billion offer to buy Twitter, which is actually a legally binding deal that he says he wants to pull out, but contractually he can't. It's like, no, you signed the deal, dude. And it's more than that, when he made his offer to buy it, his best and final offer to buy Twitter, he had a right to due diligence before he made his best and final offer, and he waived his right to do this. This is the equivalent of saying, I want to buy a house, and they say, well, do you want to take a look around the house first? And he says, nah, don't need to do that. Just show me where I signed to commit to buy this house. And then he signed to buy it, and then buyer's remorse later. He's trying to get out of it. Now, he's been trying to get out of it for, well, basically ever since he signed the deal. And the weird thing was that, before he was going to buy it, he was going to clean up Twitter, and he was the absolute hero darling of the right. People like Tucker Carlson here. Let's see how this goes, shall we?
Elon Musk believes in free speech.
It's an Elon.
There you go. Elon Musk believes in free speech. That's why he's buying Twitter, because he cares so much.
On Musk's hands, can you believe it? Now, he literally...
Yes, it's in Elon Musk's hands.
Really had to come up with $44 billion to make a stand for free speech.
Yeah. Seems like he's not so keen on that $44 billion anymore.
Strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly...
I've said right from the very beginning that Twitter is cancer. And, if Elon Musk really wanted to buy cancer, well, that was good, but now all the right-wing people were there saying, you're just salty that Elon Musk's going to buy Twitter and make it a real free speech zone.
Broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization. I don't care about the economics at all.
Yeah, it was so important that he didn't care about the economics at all. I mean, there would be no circumstances in which he would just sort of back out because reasons, and maybe he did care about the money, and maybe he didn't care that much about free speech, or maybe he worked out that he was buying cancer, and but this one really actually sticks. For different reasons.
To the future of civilization. I don't care about the economics at all.
Now, the bizarre thing was that Elon Musk could never actually afford to buy Twitter. He didn't have $44 billion. Now, you might say he's the world's richest man. He's got $250 billion in the bank, or actually, so when he started trying to buy Twitter, he had $300 billion on paper. Now it's down to more or less half that for reasons we'll come to later. That he's lost enough money to do this deal 3 times over because of the falling Tesla stock, which is where the vast majority of his wealth actually is. And that was always my first read on this, is that he'd worked out that Tesla stock was ludicrously overvalued, and any excuse to actually cash out some Tesla stock would be great. Now, of course, he had previously said to all of his shareholders that just like my money is the first into Tesla, it will be the last out. Didn't really quite work out that way. He's been selling Tesla stock on any excuse for the last 6 months, whilst the price has been ludicrously high, at first it was just a Twitter poll, I'm thinking of selling some of my Tesla stock. What do you think? Like, ignore all that stuff where I said I pledged to my to the Tesla shareholders that my money will be the last out. Now I'm just going to sell these shares now, because of a Twitter poll. Now what else?
Eliminating scam bots and bot armies on Twitter would also be a top priority for Musk. He noted during his interview that they bring down the site's product value and make it worse for users.
So, it was part of the reason why he was buying Twitter in the first place was to get rid of all of the spam accounts. This was his stated goal. He didn't care about the money. He knew there were loads of spam bots. Which does bring us on to, this thing about how many spam accounts are there on Twitter? Now, I've often said Twitter is cancer. It's not cancer because of the spam bots, because if it really were hugely just spam all over the place, no one would ever go there. Right? So it's mostly cancer because of the nature of the venue. You see, Twitter is part of the attention economy, and if you make an echo, if Twitter is not run by idiots. They know that if they make it an echo chamber, it's not going to make any money for them, right? Because if everyone just agrees, then yeah, why go to the website? Meanwhile, of course, if you sort of show red rags to people on Twitter, it gives them a reason to come and engage, which naturally makes Twitter a pretty nasty place to be. Almost all my Twitter feed. Whenever I post stuff, it's people disagreeing with me. Mostly Elon Musk fans, it's got to be said. But and then, of course, I do get loads of people sending me things to debunk on Twitter, which is quite nice. But anyway, So, how much spam does Elon Musk think there is on Twitter? Let's see what he reckons here.
Is for if they in fact have been vociferously claiming less than 5% of fake or spam accounts, but in fact,
right. So this is the thing. Twitter always claimed that it was 5% of the activity. You got to be a bit careful about the definitions here. I mean, if you're saying, how many accounts are actually real people, people who aren't sort of derelict accounts or you spam, that sort of thing, then you only have to quick search for Elon Musk and how many of his followers are fake, and you come out with numbers like 50, 70% of his followers are fake. But when you take a look at what fake means, it's basically people who once had a Twitter account, subscribed, and then whatever lost their password or whatever, I don't know. But if you take a look at someone's feed, it's clear that most of the activity is coming from humans. So let's go back to Musk and his reasoning here.
It is 4 or 5 times that number, or perhaps 10 times that number.
Right, so he's now claiming that it might be up to 50%. Half of the activity on Twitter is by spam accounts? Really? You just go through and you think 50% of the activity is fake?
This is a big deal. It's not this. It's sort of like if you said, okay.
Right, so he's now going to go into an analogy about buying a house, which is kind of cute because, who waived their right to due diligence?
I agree to buy your house. You say the house has less than 5% termites. That's
actually, they didn't say that till afterwards, and the number is probably about right. So this is the thing. If this ever does go to court, which this will absolutely go to court. The sums of money involved are just Looney Tunes. It's down to Musk to actually prove that not only that this number would materially affect the value of Twitter, which basically it wouldn't. Twitter was judged by sort of profits, not by how many people claiming, not by how many people are real or fake. It's judged by, how much adverts you. I mean, Twitter didn't make that much. I think Twitter will never make profits anyway. It's one of those companies that is, eventually will make a profit type things. But that's where its value was. that it had this large user base and potential for advertising, blah blah blah.
That's an acceptable number. But if it turns out it is 90% termites, that's not okay,
Well, yes, and you would be a real idiot. I mean, we're not talking like just a kind of idiot, but a world-class idiot to commit to sign a document committing to buy the house without having done the due diligence before. You don't sign the contract, waive your due diligence, and then complain about what you've bought.
It's not the same house. This house is made mostly of termites. Termites leave. Literally, your house will disappear because it's mostly made of termites.
Which, yeah, I mean, so we've been over this already. Musk had already said that he was buying Twitter to clean it up from all the spam bots. So he knew it was a problem. All of this wouldn't really greatly affect Twitter's value because it was a sort of known commodity anyway. People had sort of factored that into the value of the company, which does kind of bring us on to, the Looney Tunes parts of this, which is the values of the companies. So if we take a look at the value of Twitter, this is just this year to date. So, it's cruising along at about 40-ish. Yeah, Musk says he's going to buy it at I forget what it was, 54, 58, something, I don't know. But it was very clear that the market decided that no, he wasn't some time ago, because if people really did believe that Elon Musk was going to buy it at 54, that means that you could buy now at 40, and when the deal goes through, you instantly make 30% profit, right? When he buys the shares at whatever the value is, blah, 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 blah. So the market had decided some time ago that this deal wasn't actually going to go anywhere, which does bring us on to the next thing that, Twitter stocks did actually drop somewhat on Musk saying that the deal's not going through, but not really that much. I mean, if you look at it, it's only down like, what are we going from? 39 to 36. It's 3 and 30, about 3%, right? This is, the company, which I should say, again, is kind of cancer anyway. Anyway, if we take a look at this going back a year, no, 5 years, you see that the value's not greatly changed that much. It's always sort of been hovering around this sort of value. Whereas if we take a look at Tesla, of course, this is just year to date. Tesla started off about $1,200, and this I think was him. This was him announcing that he was buying Twitter. It sort of instantly caused a sort of 10% revaluation of the company, seeing as the company was worth $1 trillion anyway. Tesla lost $100 billion in market cap for the stated goal of buying Twitter at 40, and just continued to go down. And even now, with a bit of a rally, it's still down 30-40% over the year. Now, admittedly, if you sort of take Tesla back, 5 years, it's been a bit of a. In fact, interestingly enough, Tesla's stock price fairly closely follows Bitcoin, and it also lost a huge amount of money this year, or a huge amount of value this year. But yeah, so you can go through all sorts of speculations as to why Musk is doing this. And there will be all sorts of people suggesting, mostly, of course, the people who thought this was some brilliant strategy to defend free speech by buying cancer. They'll be saying that this is some great four-dimensional chess move from Musk. I've got a different appraisal of. Usually, you look for kind of the. You don't look for the genius move that people are making, because that's almost never what's happening. It's more likely that it's simply buyer's remorse. That it's that, plus he didn't really have the cash. If he was buying it back here when Twitter was sky high, Twitter's lost 30% of his value. Okay, 20% now, 25% of its value since he offered to buy Twitter, which means that now, and he was buying it mostly with financing. So this thing where he was saying, "Oh, I don't care about the money." Well, that's great. You were also buying Twitter mostly with somebody else's money, with financing money, more money he was borrowing. And I assure you, people who lend you money do care about the money, right? So all this grandstanding about, "Oh, I don't care about the money." Clearly he does. So what happens next? Well, the thing is that another way of looking at it is, let's go year to date on this. This is Twitter year to date. Musk is committed to buy up here, right? So for all the people who actually own Twitter stock, if they force the deal through at this, then all of a sudden the shares they hold in Twitter instantly, the money that they get from it instantly increases by 30%. It's a 30% windfall by forcing the deal through. And seeing as the market cap on all of this is 30 billion, that's actually that's worth a lot of money to the people who own Twitter stock, people who want to basically offload it, especially depending on what you think the long-term viability of Twitter is. I've never particularly thought it was that good, and it's quite fun to actually read some of Musk's statements on. Here we go. This is when Elon Musk was just about to buy Twitter, or announcing he was going to buy it. "Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated," said Mr. Musk. "I want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithm open source to increase trust, defeating spam bots, and authenticating all humans by getting them to put in personal data." Anyway, "Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it," which was not far off what his letter to buy Twitter was like. Where is it? Here we go. This is his best and final offer. Is this the one? No, it's not. Here we go. Musk's. This is his formal letter to make the offer for Twitter. "As a result, I am offering to buy 100% of Twitter at $54.20. Ha ha ha. 54% premium." You're going to live to regret that, dude. "My offer is my best and final offer, and if it's not accepted, I would consider this my position as a shareholder. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it." How things change, eh? The thing is that if Musk wants to Walsh on the deal, he basically has to prove that there were material misrepresentations that affected the value, the earnings of the company, and what he's complaining about really isn't it. That it's unlikely that will provide much in the way of purchase. Now, it's got to be said that this puts Twitter in a very awkward position as well, in that their stock value is likely, if it's going to face years of litigation and an uncertain future, this is unlikely to do wonders for how people value their company. If, on the other hand, that tanks Twitter stock, well, and then it turns out that Musk loses the court battle and still has to buy it, he's basically destroyed his own investment. So, yeah. I mean, personally, I think Musk has run for years on essentially a Ponzi scheme where he promises lots of things to people, says, invest lots of money into me and I'll make you lots of profit, and people want to get on board with this. But, Buffalo, New York is a fine example where, they basically spent $1 billion to try and get Musk to come and build. They said they'd build a gigafactory for him there, and the whole thing is basically being written off. Best part of $1 billion just written off because they never really turned up and did anything with it. So, and that's the majority of what Musk owns is Tesla stock. This is the majority of his wealth, which is why his wealth is basically halved over, it's gone down by 40% over the last however many months, 6 months, that sort of thing. Anyway, so it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I mean, there's definitely going to be court battles because the amount of money involved for the people who own Twitter stock is just silly money. It basically, if Musk's forced to buy it, it's an instant 30% increase on the value of what they had invested in Twitter. So, I don't see them backing down on the. Usually people say the legal costs are just too high, which is true until you're talking about, lawsuits for billions of dollars. Then, of course, the legal costs are chump change. In fact, Musk was meant to have declared his large ownership in Twitter to the SEC before he announced he was going to buy stuff, or something like that. Some legal stuff, and he didn't do it. And so legally, they can fine him for like $100,000, which is when you're talking about billions of dollars, a $100,000 fine is like, And why should this affect my behavior? I lost over $1 billion of somebody else's money with Giga Buffalo. Why should I care about a $100,000 fine? Anyway, so watch this space for what happens next with Twitter and Musk. Yeah, I guess he's literally going from Twitter to quitter. Okay, if you enjoyed that, drop a thumbs up on it, and I will see you next time.